Gentleman from Oregon.
Madam Speaker, I will yield myself the remainder of the time. It's interesting
Gentleman
listening.
has 4.5 minutes.
Thank you. It's interesting listening to my friends on the other side of the aisle, because when they had their hands on the levers of power, presidency and Congress, they engineered the massive debt that the president inherited. With a combination of tax cuts for people who needed it the least, and a rate of spending increase that was greater than Lyndon Johnson in the Great Society. Not just was it greater than Bill Clinton's spending, but greater than Lyndon Johnson in the Great Society. Now, all of a sudden, when they're out of power, they're suggesting that they're going to do something that they never did when they had control. They're proposing a massive across-the-board cut of about $1.4 trillion over the next 10 years. Now, this is serious money dealing with serious programs that the American people count on, and they count on them today more than ever before. Pell Grants, food stamps, nutrition activities, health care for low-income people, Medicare. Madam Speaker, the range of activities that would be subjected to the budget knife, again, that they never did when they were in control, but they propose to do now, would have the impact of scaling down our growth and our activities and put the burden on those who can least afford it. When it comes to taxes, well, they're back to the same old story. They want to make permanent tax cuts that we found out were not affordable in the form that they passed them. And worse, they would eat taxes on about a quarter of the Americans who are lower income Americans. Madam Speaker, there is in the Democratic budget, there are no tax increases this year. We understand that it's not appropriate to raise taxes.
Will the gentleman yield?
I'll yield on your time.
Well, I have no more time.
I would yield on your time.
Because the tax increase yesterday went in place on the tobacco, which the
Gentleman will
supported.
suspend. Gentleman will suspend. Gentleman from Oregon controls the time.
In this budget that we are going to be offering up, there are no tax increases. The House of Representatives, in its wisdom, did recently approve a tobacco tax increase that provided health care for 4 million American children, something that the last Congress passed, and there were bipartisan people who supported that because that's good for Americans. What we are seeing in paychecks this month across America, 95% of the people are witnessing the promise being delivered by President Obama and this Congress with a reduction in taxes for 95% of the American people. I find interesting the rhetoric about bureaucrats running health care. In fact, my friend from North Carolina just pointed out that the bureaucrats running health care for veterans, they protect the Veterans Health Program.
Will the gentleman yield?
I will yield on your time only. I have very few minutes left.
You don't control the time, therefore you can't yield it.
Gentleman will suspend. The gentleman from Oregon does control the time, and the gentleman has already been told at least once that he is not going to be yielded to. The gentleman will suspend.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Oregon.
Health care is one of these critical areas. There's nothing in the Democratic budget that suggests we're going to turn over to some shadowy bureaucratic influence, a bureaucratic mechanism that's going to control Americans' health care. What President Obama has suggested and what we've been discussing in our Ways and Means Committee, for instance, is having an opportunity for more choices for Americans, including some that are subsidized by the federal government to help fill some of these gaps. But it's interesting that on one hand, they'll talk about something that isn't true, shadowy bureaucratic control of health care, while they kind of conveniently forget that some of the best health care in America is provided by government itself, government bureaucrats, if you will, in the Veterans Administration. it's a little embarrassing to watch this schizophrenia that our friends are engaged in. One of the most insidious portions of both these budgets is to be found in taking back the recovery funds that states across America are counting on for economic recovery. I suggest that's a mistake as well, and another reason to reject the Republican alternative.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Ohio is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank